Hello guys, it's Randall with Bear Raged. I wanted to give you guys an update for Bitcoin. I do see it as a possible turning point right now, and I want you guys to see what I'm looking at. And I am not actively trading Bitcoin like I am Forex, but I am looking at this as a potential to get involved because it does look like it is at a point where we could see some impulsive movement. Obviously, for the last most of 2018 here, we've seen some impulsive movements, but they haven't been like this. So 2019 has been very corrective so far, but what's important is for us to look at what's going on. So descending channel, this is the big higher time frame picture we're looking at. But when we zoom it down here and we look at the most recent price action, it gives us some interesting feedback. So we have an impulse, and we could look at this as impulse correction to move lower. That's possible. The reason why I'm not looking at that as the most likely, it's possible, it's not probable, is we have this morning star formation. So we have the doji, technically two dojis, a huge retrace candle. It's the morning star formation, and it fits within the pattern. So when we see that happen, we can see that as a possible reversal. So what I'm looking at is this is the impulse. This is the correction to move higher. The question is how and when and where will this take place. So if we drop down a level, it's important to, what's interesting to me is you look at these patterns and they play out consistently. You have impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse, correction. The question would be, are we going to complete with another impulse? It's possible. This is very corrective. So we're not ruling out the possibility of another move down before moving to the upside. If we do that, it does complete the pattern, and it gives us a nice springboard to jump off from, which would give us a nice, most likely a nice impulse off from that. So that's something you gotta keep in mind as a possibility. On the 1 hour here, so what we have going on is obviously we have this descending pattern within the larger descending pattern that we're looking at. So descending within a descending, we are looking at this to move to the upside, at least temporarily short term. How it moves to the upside is going to tell us a lot. So if this does reverse, but then suddenly we just start moving correctively, ascending, we know that it's going to sell, and we're just going to get that bigger sell eventually, and we will continue down with Bitcoin. But at the time being, we do have to consider the possibility that we might have some opportunities coming upon us. So what I'm looking at for this pattern here to play out, obviously you can see I drew it out. This was yesterday. I think I drew this out, and I was going to do a video, but I was too busy to get that done, unfortunately. There's a couple things to look at for this pattern. This is an impulse. This is the small flag. You'll find that it turns into a larger flag. So to see this come to the downside makes sense to me. This has been very corrective. We do have triple bottom here. To see this fall out, it does make sense just because it's corrective. We are dealing with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin can go aggressively and it can go early. It does happen. Couple reasons, couple things to look at, and once this video uploads, it might have already happened if it's going to. But we do have this engulfing candle off from triple bottom. So if it was going to go early, this would be where it would go early, and we'd get that. Hopefully we'd see a correction, our flag. If we do, it's probably going to be a smaller one, and if there is a flag, I would be buying that. So if this moves up and we do get a tiny flag, most likely I would buy that, especially if it's right on the trend line or right past the trend line and it corrects on the trend line. I would definitely be looking at that as a potential buy. This does look like a possibility. So a couple of things. Look at that, how this moves up. If this does suddenly drop through, I would be selling that until we get down here, and then I'd look for reversal signs. So those would be the areas I would be looking at. If this just continues to correct like this, or more ascending like this. Unless we get a different indication, I would be looking for this to move back down before moving to the upside. But again, pay attention to the most recent price action. Understand the higher time frame, but pay attention to the most recent price action and what is going on. So something interesting with Bitcoin, and it's something if you backtest Bitcoin and you look at it, you'll see this happens over and over and over. So Bitcoin has been very reliable. I mean, you see these patterns are playing out. Descending channel, it breaks to the upside. You have a descending channel, it does break to the upside. Then, we immediately get another one. It's a small flag, and then it breaks to the upside. Now, you might say, well, isn't that a descending channel, or isn't that a flag to sell? There's a couple of reasons why it's not. You have an arcing nature and a double top. Double tops and double bottoms, you'll notice with Bitcoin, they happen a lot, and they're very consistent and reliable. Look at what happens with double tops and double bottoms. You have here arcing nature, double bottom, and we move off from it. Obviously, it lines up too with where their trend line would have been. So it does validate that trend line. You have this move to the upside, and you have, I wouldn't really call this an arcing nature, but you do have that double top. So that definitely doesn't really have the arcing nature feel, but it does have the double top. We do get this kind of an arcing nature here, and it does give a little bit of move off. But that's not an entry I would have taken as a long. It doesn't meet my criteria. When we move to the top here, which we wouldn't have known was the top, but we have that arcing nature. You would have seen it more on the 15-minute, but you do have that arcing nature and double top. And right here you have that arcing nature and you have the double top. And it doesn't immediately just drop from here. It drops a little bit, and then you get the flag, and it continues, and then you get this smaller flag, and then it continues. So again, because we have this arcing nature, we have it twice, we have the triple bottom, to see this move off from here, based on just the patterns with Bitcoin, how Bitcoin it reacts, it makes sense to me. It makes sense that could happen. So I'm not in this trade right now, but I do have an entry set to be triggered in. If we do get that impulsive movement, I will get triggered in. I don't have an entry for a sell right now, but I'm going to set an entry for a sell. So if we get triggered in on that side of it, I will sell it all the way down. But that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. Those are the things to keep in mind. You need to pay attention to these patterns. If you're going to trade, you want to be successful, you have to pay attention to the patterns. You have to pay attention to the pairs. Now, these patterns work throughout Forex, all the pairs, Bitcoin, consistently. But if you backtest these pairs specifically themselves, you'll find unique patterns within them. Bitcoin and Euro USD, both of them, the arcing nature, the double top, and the double bottoms work extremely well, especially, for instance, on like Euro USD, when you're at the higher time frame and you're looking for those bigger moves. To see a move down, which looks like it's the move and everyone's in on it, to see that move back up and double top is extremely common. It's extremely common. And a lot of people, they either take a loss or break even, and they're like, well, it isn't going to go. And that's when it does go, and they're not in on the trade. So understanding that, it helps you to take advantage of these trades. If you took this trade here, and for whatever reason, you shouldn't have taken a loss on it. But let's say you somehow took a break even. Maybe you were sleeping this whole time, for 3 days straight, and you took a break even on it. When we get to here and we double top, and if we fulfill this pattern, there's no reason why you shouldn't be in that trade if you took that trade. If you saw this as a valid trade, this definitely should be a valid trade as well. That high test, retest, and then the big, large retrace, you should have got in on that one as well. So it's understanding, if you take a trade and you take a loss, or you take a trade and you take a break even, you need to be taking that trade again when, the opportunity presents itself again, when you're back there. The only reason why you won't is if the first trade was invalid. If you say, well, I shouldn't have even taken that trade. It was just emotional. It was FOMO. Then, okay, you don't want to take another. But the problem I see a lot of is people will take a trade. The trade wasn't invalid. It wasn't ready yet. And so they'll take a break even. They're like, well, I'll move on. They look at another pair. And then suddenly it goes, and they're like, what happened? Don't get disinterested. Be ready and wait. And when a new entry comes, it sets itself back up. It double tops or double bottom, whatever the case may be. Take the trade. You want it to be in on that trade. I hope this has helped. I'm going to be doing more videos. I'm going to try to do more videos for you guys. We are working on updating a lot of stuff with the course. We're going to be adding more material to the course and revamping some things as well. So this is an ongoing process, and we're trying to work as hard as we can to make some changes. But there are some things we do plan to be changing, and we do want to be updating you guys more often as well. So bear with us on that. If you're new to the channel, I encourage you, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to make sure you are notified of any new videos. If you are new to trading and it's something you are interested in really seriously getting your hands dirty with, hit the link in the description, go to bitraged.com, and you can learn how to trade. This is the most effective way to trade the markets, is the only way that we found consistently to be successful in trading any Forex or Bitcoin and even stocks. So if that is something that interests you, go ahead and go to bitraged.com. If you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comments below. If you are on the Slack group, if you're part of the course, go ahead and send us a message or comment in Slack, and you can tag us if you want to get our attention, and we'll do our best to answer you there. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and have a great